Professor Johnston, Executive Director of the Australian Centre for Innovation, welcome to this interview on foresight and expertise.
Thank you very much.
I would like to ask you, for what topics have you been using foresight in recent years? Are there some major topics that recur or some major new emerging topics?
There's a very wide range of topics. Part of the growth of foresight or strategic intelligence or anticipatory intelligence, people call it different things, are being applied far more widely. Major focus is, for example, economic areas, issues of transport or energy, water availability, but increasingly also there's a great deal of foresight activity around more social issues, health, aging, migration, issues of obesity and recreation. So it's a very wide spectrum now that it's being applied to.
Yes, and then a question about the expertise. How do you select experts or participants to your foresight studies or projects? Within a set of principles, it's usually not a profoundly complicated task, given that you've decided some process has led to the need for a particular foresight project. Either a client wants it, or the government wants it, or there seems to be a lot of interest in it. Fairly immediately you know that there's a constellation of people who are informed about those things. So there's your starting point. There will be a variety of people whose business it is to know about it, be they planners or scientists or regulators. It varies greatly. But certainly the approach that we adopt very strongly is as part of the preparation for a foresight project is a stakeholder map construction or stakeholder analysis. Who are the sorts of people who would be or maybe could be persuaded to be interested in this because the future in that area is going to impact upon them, and then there's a considerable. It becomes more an art form and a form of persuasion of locating a wide variety of people and persuading them usually to donate their time to be involved in an exercise of this kind. We have also used on a number of occasions and increasingly social networking tools so that we go beyond the who can we find, who do we know to ask, to simply make a more broadcast approach through the internet to say, are you interested in this? Join us. It will join us either online or directly. Okay. And then many methods in foresight focus on the expertise and role of experts as a way to get insights concerning the futures. On the other hand, crowdsourcing and wisdom of crowds have generated interest and been increasing in popularity in futures community. So how do you see such crowdsourcing potential in foresight?
I think it's got a huge potential. From the beginning, we need to recognise that ignorance is never a good starting point. So of course you need to have informed opinion and judgment. But that then translated in previous times and under previous technology conditions to people who were formally assigned to have an expertise or a responsibility in an area. That's no longer necessary, and the wisdom of the crowds, particularly in certain kind of issues, been demonstrated to be very, very effective. I'm involved in a number of projects. I think of one that would give you a flavour where national energy suppliers are really interested in what's going to shape people's future attitudes about energy, and its costs and its sustainability and where it comes from. Now, you can do an expert analysis of it, but in fact having done some preliminary work with scenarios and things like that, to then engage the crowd approach and provide detailed analysis, feed it back, get some refinement, so in sort of a Delphi round is I think a very powerful tool. I expect to see it used much more commonly.
Okay. Then about the time frame, what is the time frame you usually use in your
foresight studies, and do you use the same time frame for technology foresight as, for example, for social issues?
No, I think you've always got to set your time frame to be appropriate, but people will have different views of what's appropriate.
Yes.
You will be dealing with some people who will be saying, I was going to say in business, but it's not always business who has a very short time frame at all, who'll be saying, I can't think beyond 3 years. Anything beyond 3 years I don't know, so I won't.
They don't feel comfortable.
But at the very same time, even in discussions with the same people, you explore what the time frame of change is, particularly if it's socially based. They said, well, of course, that's going to take a generation. Oh, so suddenly we're talking about 25 years, or at least 10 years.
That's right.
So my approach to sort of addressing that is try to get multiple time frames in.
Yes.
That we might have a 5 and a 20-year time frame, and you look at both as part of the exercise.
Yes. What is the longest time frame you have ever used?
Oh, we've gone out 100 years on a number of occasions where we're looking at big changes.
Yes, and for example, in energy issues, 50 years, 100 years is very relevant. Actually, what in your view is the best way to assess long-term futures now that we are talking about 100 years or 50 years at least? Because the experts don't feel comfortable.
No, it's definitely not. My judgment is that in things like that is to create, I heard the word sandpit, which I've used before, a play space to get people of a very wide range of opinions, have almost no rules, but some big hard challenges to engage them in time travel. And simply to play creatively in that space is as good. Now you may then later want to do some validation about have we just broken the laws of physics or something?
Yeah.
But to start with almost no rules and some challenges and a culture, is set up that people will in a nice space will spend 24 hours thinking really crazy thoughts. That's a good help.
Okay. And then the final question, what is your recommendation how to integrate foresight into innovation processes?
Foresight into innovation. I mean, well, my starting point, where given your responsibilities, is everybody who's doing a degree in management or administration should have a competence. An absolutely central skill is they should be able to address the future and know. Perhaps most importantly, when the tools that they use quite regularly and are very helpful in the short term are not sufficient, and you've got to look elsewhere. Innovation is, after all, is about new things, doing things differently. So the possibility of looking to the future that can be different in terms of needs or markets or technology all open up the possibilities of innovation. I see it as a direct feeder into the innovation process.
Yes. Okay, Professor Ron Johnston, thank you very much for your views.
My pleasure, thank you.